For those of us who live here, who breathe its dust and drink its tainted water, the truth is a bitter pill. Durban's infrastructure is not merely struggling, it is in a state of utter, terrifying collapse.
West. Hayi bafethu ngeke ANC ayibheke kahle lento. Ngeke bafethu. Itheku lingcole kanje.
And how did we get here? How did a city with such immense potential fall into this agonizing abyss? To understand the present, we must confront the past. During the dark days of apartheid, Durban, like much of South Africa, the streets were paved, the water flowed clean and consistent, and public services were meticulously maintained. Roads were smooth, lighting was reliable, and sanitation systems, though far from perfect, were functional in these designated white areas. Maintenance. It was a priority, a symbol of order and control. The city hummed with a semblance of efficiency. Fast forward to the dawn of democracy, a new South Africa, brimming with promises of redress and upliftment. The vision was clear: bridge the divides, provide basic services to all, and build a truly inclusive city. But what happened? The noble intentions, the grand plans, often dissolved into a mire of self-interest and greed. And here's where a new villain emerged, insidiously eating away at the very fabric of our recovery, the tenderpreneur. These aren't just corrupt individuals, they are a parasitic class, a cancer on our economy.
That's going to sound, arrogant. But I think 2 weeks ago, I bought 6 bottles of champagne. I paid, it was between 4,000 and 5,000 per bottle.
They are the politically connected elite who siphon off public funds through inflated contracts, shoddy workmanship, and outright fraud. Billions, meant for essential infrastructure, for roads, for water pipes, for electricity grids, vanish into their offshore accounts and opulent lifestyles. Remember the low-cost housing projects? The dream of decent homes for our most vulnerable. What if I told you that in many instances, those dreams turned into nightmares? Substandard materials, houses literally crumbling within months of completion, entire developments declared unsafe and destined for demolition. Millions, hundreds of millions, billions of rand, poured into these projects, only to be wasted on what can only be described as a cynical mockery of service delivery. The money meant to uplift communities instead lined the pockets of those who cared only for their own enrichment, leaving behind a trail of misery and further compounding the infrastructure deficit. This isn't just underfunding, it's active sabotage of our future. And as if this man-made decay wasn't enough, Durban has been relentlessly pummeled by the unforgiving hand of nature. The sheer ferocity of recent natural disasters, particularly the catastrophic floods of 2022, exposed the rotten core of our neglected infrastructure. These weren't just acts of God, they were acts exacerbated by human failure. When drainage systems are clogged with years of refuse and neglect, when riverbanks are eroded due to a lack of maintenance, when informal settlements are allowed to mushroom in flood-prone areas with no proper planning or support, then a heavy downpour becomes a death sentence. The floods didn't just wash away homes, they ripped apart major arteries, severed communities, and left vital infrastructure in ruins. Bridges, meticulously designed decades ago, crumbled like sandcastles. Roads, already weakened by potholes and poor maintenance, became raging rivers, then fragmented chasms. The cost of rebuilding, repairing, and attempting to harden our infrastructure against future events is astronomical, a burden we might not be able to bear, especially when the funds meant for such resilience continue to vanish. The truth is, these disasters don't just happen, they are amplified by the fragility of a system already on its knees. And so, we arrive at today. The present state of Durban's infrastructure is not just grim, it's an infuriating indictment of our collective failure. Our roads, once the arteries of commerce, are now death traps, pockmarked with craters that swallow vehicles whole. Emergency services struggle to navigate these treacherous routes, delaying critical responses. Our public transport system, a promised beacon of efficiency, remains a phantom, with billions poured into a project that has yet to see the light of day. And what about sanitation? The very thought is nauseating. Raw sewage flowing into our rivers, poisoning our beaches, desecrating our natural heritage. The stench of neglect hangs heavy in the air, a constant reminder of promises broken and duties abandoned. The irony is gut-wrenching. Durban, a city of unparalleled natural beauty, is being choked by the very systems meant to sustain it. The economic impact is devastating, businesses flee, tourism dwindles, and investor confidence evaporates. We are losing jobs, losing opportunities, losing hope. And all the while, those responsible seem to operate with impunity, their lavish lives a stark contrast to the despair of the average citizen. This isn't just a story about crumbling pipes and broken roads. This is a story about the erosion of trust, the triumph of greed over public good, and the systematic dismantling of a city's future. What happens when a city can no longer provide its most basic services? What happens when the very foundations of urban life rot from within? The consequences, my friends, are far more terrifying than a mere pothole.